Well, hello and welcome to our May garden tour. It's just 4 weeks ago we were here for the April one, but the garden has changed so much in the meantime, and I can't wait to show you the changes, the floral sort of abundance that's happening, and any other further changes along the way as well. Now, if you're new here, I garden in southwest of Ireland, and I have sort of, I suppose, 4 areas I keep giving the viewers regular updates on. One is the cottage garden, then rose garden, kitchen garden, and the greenhouse area as well. And when I garden, I'm always accompanied by the trusty spud and then a few hens thrown in as well. Now, as far as the weather goes, the month of May has continued to be really mixed. We've had a couple of days that has been really hot, really summery, and then we're back to jumpers. It's a bit cool and plenty of rain mixed in as well. But because it's steadily still above 10 degrees, everything does keep growing. The grass, the weeds, and obviously the plants that we do want to grow. Let's get this garden tour going. So as usual, let's start off the tour in the cottage garden. Hello, horsey. Hello. Come on, go and fetch your ball. And I hope that you can see there are plants behind me now. It's not all just heaps of black soil. There is a lot of plants there. Now, I haven't planted any of them because it is a full-on mix. There's so many different varieties, but I also want to take a real good note of where of what variety is going into, because there's a lot of plants that are totally new to me. I'm already loving the combination of the plants there, and I keep collecting them because there's still plenty empty space there. So this is still an ongoing project, but this is so normal, this is so natural. It's just something that will keep me busy and occupied, and I love being able to develop it like that. Now, I love the tones from pinks and mauves, purples, and there's a lovely variety starting to appear here already. So the plants that are providing the biggest colour at the moment, at the very end of May, are obviously the Vigella. That's a new plant that I had purchased. Then there's Deutzia and the background. Then we have this beautiful Delphinium astolat, a purple mullein, this gorgeous Astrantia capri, then a baby, still very small of a plant of this geranium Cambridge. Then also the Sambucus black lace is flowering at the moment, and also this Salvia Nemerosa marble rose, absolutely stunning spikes. And also this Primula. Now, the flower heads have flopped over. That's how I got it from the garden centre. But once it has properly been planted, settled in, then I'd say next summer we wouldn't have this effect. They'll be all nice and erect here in the border. But what a stunning flower. Now, the rose garden behind me is also starting to wake up, and the newer roses that I added last year, they have so many little blooms on them. Well, there's one Sarah's Mariner that's, their blossoms are actually smallish anyway, so that obviously there's going to be a bigger abundance of them. Now, the showiest of roses out there at the moment is the Darcy Bustles, so really rich, deep crimson coloured rose with a soft scent. It hasn't got a very strong scent, but definitely it makes up for it in the colour of the depth of colour, and then obviously the beautiful rosettes of the blooms as well. The lavenders are showing a lot of little flower heads. The Princess Alexandra of Kent flowers are still very tightly closed as well, but it's because the temperatures have been dropping a little bit, and early June and throughout the June, obviously, we'll have a lot of roses, and we'll have a lot of black spot as well, because usually June is quite a wet month in Ireland. But what is not flowering yet on the roses side is definitely flowering on the clematis side. The pergola here is totally covered with loads of flowers of the clematis montana grandiflora. And the scent of honey, that's the main feature it has. Sometimes you have to remember, where is that scent coming from? It's like, it's all above your head and then it just comes down. It's stunning. And then these huge flowers of Mrs. George Jackman clematis as well. Beautiful white. There's so many nice tones running through this flower as well, but it's the size of it, such a feature themselves. I have more roses here. There's one in the pot, but because this is something that was gifted to me and it came from a relative's garden, we don't actually know the name of that particular variety, but it is a stunner, and all I know it's a David Austin rose as well. Huge blossoms, beautiful mauvey colours and stunning fragrance on top of it. I do still need to add more plants to those central planters to combine with the roses, because I used to have plants there before, but I removed them, I changed my mind, all that, and so far I've been just focusing a little bit more on the cottage garden side, because obviously the kitchen garden, where we're heading to now, is taking still the most of the time, so that is the most time consuming area so far. And knowing how wet and windy this spring has been as well, obviously there has been a few lost out opportunities just to spend more time in those type of areas as well, but all in good time. Now in the kitchen garden, most of the plants are planted now. They're settling in, well, except obviously for those real heat-loving crops, corn and pumpkins and squashes. These I don't usually plant until early June, unless we've had a very warm May. Then I'll get it in probably by the end of May. But potatoes are doing well. Then all of the other brassica crops that I planted in these raised timber or the wooden planters, the kales, Brussels sprouts, swede, celeriac, I can see they're actually really settling in well and they're growing strongly. Then some of the salads, like the mustards, have actually started to bolt, and I'd say these are just because of those couple of real hot days we got, well, which was low 20s, but it was still quite warm for them. But otherwise the salads are well. Out of these exotic type of plants, the masha, I'm really delighted about how well masha is doing. And then obviously there's plenty of oca popping up as well. But yeah, the masha, how it was recommended to me by one of the viewers actually, so thank you for that, to use it as a climber, just to provide a climbing frame for it, and it should grow better then, and it has. And I'm delighted that because of that area in this part of the sort of wind tunnel area is a little bit problematic. Not everything wants to grow in that kind of condition. The garlic probably has just about another month left, but again growing really well, and looking forward to seeing the scapes of them and harvesting those first. And then the whole Greek gigantis bean saga, at least those what I've succeeded with have started to attach themselves now to the supports as well, so that's really, really positive. The weather forecast is not great for this weekend. I'm surprised it has stayed dry as long as it has, but I'd say there'll be there'll be rain definitely coming yet. And another crop I'm really happy to see that it's growing strongly so far is the purple cauliflower, and mainly because I've never really succeeded with cauliflower, only a little bit, but not really well. And then a crop that I've always done really, really well with is carrots, and this year it's been terrible, but I'd say it's mainly because of the seed. The seed was not fresh, and you can hear the chainsaws again. We might be also getting a nice harvest of blueberries, which I was a little bit worried about because of the late frosts we got. But there are so many little fruit forming on the plant themselves, so I think we'll be good this year. There is also so much colour still from the chives, flower heads, the calendula, all the beautiful chard and the purple flowering broad beans. Chamomile is flopping all over the place. I have to remind myself for next year to really stake them earlier. But they're stunning and the scent is just fantastic. The red lupins that I have in few different locations actually, absolutely stunning, and the bumblebees will love them. And the Nepeta, obviously, the Nepeta really starting to come to its own now. And finally, we're in the greenhouse. It's just got planted up last week, so really freshly redone. So the tomatoes are directly inside the beds. There's variations of them. There's some cherry types, there's some determinate ones, indeterminate ones, some for cooking, some for salad. So there's a good mix of all of them, and this year I made sure I have plenty of red tomatoes because that was just something I was sort of missing out on. I felt I missed out on a couple of years ago when I tried all these black varieties, and it was all very exciting, but it's just genuinely missing the colour of red. And then I also have some French dwarf beans interplanted with the tomatoes in the central metal planter. I have some tagetes planted with some of the tomatoes, and there's more of tagetes to go with them. I want to add more sunflowers to the areas, and I'm thinking of maybe a red spring onion as well. So there'll be a nice combination of plants with the tomatoes complementing it. And obviously at the moment it's still all very open and spacious and clear looking, and by the end of August really this is going to be jungle. The sides of the greenhouse will be covered with the foliage from the cherry tomatoes. I have also planted up all the chilies and sweet peppers, and this year I'm definitely going with milder varieties of chilies, but they are all in their individual pots and they're also staying inside the greenhouse throughout the season. And I'm yet to pot up cucumbers, and they're also going to stay here in the greenhouse. So really the three types of plants that are going to be growing here are tomatoes, then the capsicum and cucumbers. But while it's still cold out there, all the seedlings for the pumpkin squashes, more sunflowers, they're all here. They're at the moment being nurtured inside here, just to keep them away from these cooler winds we seem to be getting a lot of. Now I really hope you saw a good overview of the garden, always from the ornamentals to the kitchen garden to the edibles and the greenhouse. And the rains are here, but let's continue these garden tours. It's great fun. Any comments, questions, maybe you want to see something even more close up, or a better explanation. I'm not sure how good I'm at explaining of these areas, but pop them in the question box below and have a look at the playlist for the garden tours. Do have a look at that. And yeah, I hope there's a really good change now being shown between the winter and early spring months and now the start of the summer. So thank you so much for joining me today, and until next time.